Good morning, everyone. Am I audible? Am I audible to you? Someone needs to respond in order to make sure that I can know that you all are here. गुड मॉर्निंग आदेश, मैं अच्छा हूँ. होपफुली आप भी हेल्दी हैं, घर वाले भी हेल्दी हैं. यू आर हियर. गुड मॉर्निंग शुभम. वेरी गुड मॉर्निंग. Okay, Adesh, that is good. Good morning, Pradyum. So I hope you did go through some of the things that we had discussed yesterday. Good morning, Gopal. I am doing great. Hope you are also at pink of your health. Good morning, Dhananjay, everyone. Join in so that we can start from where we had left. Yeah, Subham, the situation is really bad, and every now and then we are hearing some of the news that is heart-wrenching. Even I have lost some of the close relatives in this COVID situation, but nothing is in our hand except that we can pray. Good morning, Sivangi. So I'm pretty sure that all of you tried to go through some of the things that we had discussed yesterday with respect to the relationship of India and Afghanistan. And कल किसी ने कहा था कि बाईलिंगुअल क्लासेस हों, तो कल भी मैंने बात की थी. कुछ जो चीज़ें थी मैंने हिंदी में कहने की कोशिश की थी, बट आपका लैंग्वेज क्या है कि इंग्लिश है. यू हैव इनरोल्ड फॉर द इंग्लिश मीडियम, सो इट इज़ इम्पॉर्टेंट दैट you try to understand this language properly. Try to have some command. Pradyum, शिवम, रिवीजन स्ट्रेटजी. हाँ, रिवीजन स्ट्रेटजी की हमने बात की थी लास्ट टाइम, तो मैंने कुछ इनसाइट्स आप लोगों को दिया भी था. हम लोग इंडिया अफगानिस्तान के बारे में बात कर रहे थे. रिवीजन स्ट्रेटजी में मैंने ये कहा था कि यू हैव टू फॉलो a cycle of revision that we call as revision cycles, जिससे चीजें ज्यादा क्लियर याद होती हैं. Yeah, Ankit, this is English medium class, but some of your friends requested that I use both the languages, that is English and Hindi. So in while discussing, I'll be doing so. कभी कभी मैं हिंदी भी बोलूंगा, क्योंकि आप में से कुछ लोग ही ऐसा कह रहे थे. तो जो रिवीजन साइकिल्स की मैंने बात की थी, नोट्स आदेश जो मैं लिखवा रहा हूं वही नोट्स है आपके. दीज आर ऑल नोट्स ओनली. इफ यू राइट देम प्रॉपरली एंड रीड देम प्रॉपरली, आई एम प्रिटी श्योर दैट यू विल बी नोइंग एवरीथिंग. और करंट में जो इवेंट्स होंगे, वट एवर इज कमिंग इन द न्यूज पेपर्स, हिंदू, इंडियन एक्सप्रेस, तो यू नीड टू ऐड टू दीज. जो आज के बाद होंगी चीजें वो आप जोड़ लेंगे. So I'll quickly talk about this revision cycle, then we'll switch to the discussion. Revision मैंने पहले भी बताया था कि 1, 2, 7, 20, 30 का साइकिल होना चाहिए. ये क्या है, मंथ में 5 रिविजन्स का टारगेट रखना चाहिए आप लोगों को. It will take some time. It is not going to be easy. Yeah, Ankit, I understood that you are more comfortable. You guys are more comfortable when I am writing on the board. तो हम ऐसे ही पढ़ने वाले हैं आगे. तो मंथ में 5 रिविजन्स, लेकिन इन डेट्स को याद रखना टफ है. इसलिए आपको क्या है कि एक रिविजन नोटबुक बनानी चाहिए, जिसमें आप रिविजन की डेट्स डालिए और उस हिसाब से रिविजन कीजिए. इसका सबसे बड़ा फायदा ये है कि whenever you'll be revisiting the topic again the next time, let's say आपने इस दिन क्या है, you have invested 2 hours, तो on second day 45 minutes to 1 hour ही लगना है, and that is worth investing, believe me, because these revisions will give you a kind of clarity that nothing else can give. Plus जब दिमाग में आपके हिस्ट्री रहेगा, पॉलिटी रहेगा, इकोनॉमी रहेगा, इंटरनेशनल रिलेशन रहेगा, तो जो आप सुनते हैं हमेशा, यू पीपल टॉक अबाउट द इंटरलिंकेजेस ऑफ द सब्जेक्ट मैटर, दैट विल ऑटोमेटिकली हैपन अंटिल एंड अनलेस यू रिमेंबर एवरीथिंग. इट इज टफ इंटरलिंकिंग द थिंग्स. तो इस चीज से वो अचीव हो जाएगा. अब हम 7वें दिन पढ़ेंगे तो मे बी ये 45 मिनट्स ही लेगा. 20वें दिन फिर से 45 मिनट्स ले सकता है ये, बट हेयर ऑनवर्ड्स यू विल सी दैट इट इज टेकिंग ओनली 20 मिनट्स. तो दिस विल मेक थिंग्स प्रिटी इजी फॉर यू. एक्चुअली आप लोग क्या है कि उतना समय देते ही हैं, बट यूजुअल स्टाइल ऑफ स्टडिंग क्या होती है, यू रीड समथिंग फॉर 15 days, then you'll not visit that thing for 2 months. Then again when you start reading, you take 14 days instead of 15 days. So almost you are giving the same amount of time and you are forgetting everything. But if you read the way I have suggested, I'm pretty sure that all of you can remember at least 90 to 95% of the things if you are focusing on these things. So make sure that you are making a revision notebook and you are writing the topics. Let's say हम कहते हैं कि let's say 6th of June you read India Afghanistan. ठीक है, तो ये टॉपिक नोटबुक में लिख देंगे 6th of June. देन यहां डेट डालेंगे 7th of June, 14th of June. उसके बाद में क्या है कि इट वॉज 6th, so 26th of June. These are all June, right? ऐसे डेट्स डाल देंगे. देन 6th of July. And here on after every month आप क्या है इसको एक बार भी देख लेते हैं. तो these dates are like what in the revision notebook. Whenever you look at the notebook, it will become easier for you to which topic to read. मान लीजिए आपने इंडियन अफगानिस्तान पढ़ा, फिर इसमें क्या है कि इकोनॉमिक्स का कोई पार्ट पढ़ लिया, तो वो भी लिख देंगे. तो सम ऑफ द टाइम फर्स्ट फ्यू मंथ्स इट विल लुक टफ, क्योंकि आपको रोज लगेगा कि आई एम रिवाइजिंग ओनली एंड नॉट रीडिंग एनीथिंग न्यू. बट इट इज वर्थ डूइंग दिस थिंग. बिलीव मी, इट विल बेनिफिट यू मोर. आफ्टर 3 months क्या होगा, आप स्ट्रीमलाइन हो जाएंगे, हर चीज को 5-5 बार पढ़ चुके होंगे. उसके बाद चीजें आपको बहुत क्लियर होंगी. तो आप उसके बाद क्या है कि ये रिवीजन वाली नोटबुक को नहीं भी यूज करेंगे, सिर्फ करंट अफेयर्स के लिए करिएगा आगे, और हर महीने एक सब्जेक्ट को एक ही बार उठाएंगे. लेट्स से सम ऑफ यू मे टेक 20 days टू रिवाइज पॉलिटी अभी पढ़ने में, फर्स्ट रीडिंग. बट इफ यू डू दिस थिंग 20 days and follow this cycle that I have suggested like this, then the thing is like there will come a time after 7th 8th reading that you will be completing this thing in 2-3 days. So you will be in a position to come back to a full circle of the subjects within 30 days only. Every 30 days you will be reading everything of the syllabus. Only new thing will remain, that is current affairs. And by the time you appear for the exam, at least you will have 15 to 20 revisions. And anybody who has done these many revisions, it is pretty sure that he'll clear the paper. He'll not find anything difficult. Prelims is going to be easy. Mains is going to be easy. You'll be in a position to speak a lot better with a clear mind when you are appearing for the interview. And chances are very high that you can clear the exam with a top rank in the very first attempt. So my suggestion is do follow this thing. शुरू में टफ है. क्यों टफ है? क्योंकि लेट्स से यू आर स्टडिंग फॉर 8 hours, तो ऑलमोस्ट क्या होगा 3 to 4 hours आपका रिवीजन में चला जाएगा. फॉर फर्स्ट फ्यू मंथ्स इट विल हैपन. जब आपके सब्जेक्ट्स बढ़ते जाएंगे तो क्या होगा, मे बी देयर विल बी डेज व्हेन यू आर ओनली रिवाइजिंग. ठीक है, बट यू शुड नॉट पैनिक, यू शुड बिलीव इन दिस प्रोसेस. एंड इफ somebody is doing this thing, let's say 5-6 months, thereafter he'll be completing whole of the syllabus every month. There will come a time when you'll be completing the syllabus within 20 days, then 15 days. And things will seem pretty easy to you. अभी आप क्या कहते हैं कि कोई सब्जेक्ट हार्ड है, कोई इजी है, ऐसा लगता है. बट व्हेन वी रिवाइज थिंग्स फॉर मे बी 10 times 12 times, तो हर चीज इजी हो जाती है. यू will have equal command over each and every subject. I hope everybody is clear with this. And I know कि only 10% of the students follow this thing. But I want all of you to be in that 10% of the students. Because not everybody is going to talk about such organized way of reading. I had practiced this thing since my childhood. So I was in a position to give so many interviews even while working. So I have done it in a very small amount of time. I had only 5-6 hours to study, and that too some of the days I didn't had even 3 hours. But I religiously followed this thing. And though things appeared tough to me for 6-7 months, but thereafter each and every mains, prelims was a cakewalk. Each and every mains, I was very, very comfortable. I was always confident that I'll clear. Okay? तो ये चीजें आसान हो जाएंगी. एंड देन छोटी मोटी इंप्रूवमेंट्स करने रहते हैं, जो प्रैक्टिस करना आंसर राइटिंग की, कुछ आर्टिकल्स को और पढ़ना कि हम अपग्रेड हो सकें, थोड़ा होराइजन्स पे काम करना कि हमारा एस्से अच्छा हो जाए. तो यही चीजें करनी होती हैं. तो मेक श्योर यू आर डूइंग दिस थिंग. एंड हूएवर इज गोइंग टू फॉलो दिस एडवाइस, आई एम टेलिंग यू, आपका प्रीलिम्स मेंस नहीं रुकने वाला है. ठीक है? So now we'll continue with the things where we had left. We were talking yesterday about India, Afghanistan. And we had seen a time after independence. Karunesh, it will take a lot of time if I repeat the same things again. जैसा आप में से ही किसी ने बताया था कि these videos are available to you for watching for 5 times. So you know that this is the 4th lecture. And you remember the date. And just have a look at the first 5-10 minutes of today's discussion and easily हो जाएगा. ठीक है? मे भी किसी और दिन फिर से एक बार डिस्कस करूंगा ताकि आप लोगों के ध्यान में आ जाए. आज हम कंटिन्यू करते हैं. ठीक है? सो इंडिया अफगानिस्तान. India, Afghanistan, we have talked about a time when the representatives of our country started visiting Afghanistan when it was not vocal, it was not, it did not come openly in our support in Indo-China war. And after that, we have seen that the countries made sure that there are some broad terms where we can align our goals. Things seemed pretty normal. Afghanistan was a non-aligned country, India was a non-aligned country, and suddenly, good morning Deepak, suddenly things went haywire in Afghanistan. There was a period of political confusion and instability. So next heading is period of political confusion and instability. So whatever I am going to write in the board, I want you to note it down. क्योंकि आंसर्स में क्या है कि ये वाले पार्ट्स के सबको मेंशन करने की चांसेस कम मिलेंगे आपको. दीपक, या टुडे वी हैव स्टार्टेड विद दिस पार्ट. कल हमने जो पढ़ा था उसके बाद का पहला टॉपिक है ये. ठीक है? द पीरियड ऑफ कंफ्यूजन एंड पॉलिटिकल इंस्टेबिलिटी. इट वाज अ पीरियड ऑफ 1970s. The period of 1970s, what happened? In this period, one after another, the rulers were deposed, overthrown by some other groups. So at that time, when the relationships were good, we had King Muhammad Jahin as the ruler of Afghanistan, who was taking care of the affairs of Afghanistan. He was the ruler of Afghanistan, but his cousin Daud Khan deposed him. Okay, so regime change. Just note it down so that you can remember. Here, Daud Khan came in power. Okay, he took control of the affairs of Afghanistan. So there was confusion. India was not in a position to do anything because we were not aware who is going to remain the ruler. There were infighting in Afghanistan. And as India was also expecting, things again changed and Hafiz Ullah Amin came to power. Hafizullah Amin. Daud Khan was deposed. So such confusions did not allow India to establish any positive relationship. But of course, India did mention in the international forums that whatever is happening in Afghanistan was not good. So note it down. Just note it down. So this was basically a period of confusion. And again, Hafizullah what did? This man brought terror. He wasn't amongst the good rulers. Good morning, Saurabh. He wasn't amongst the good rulers. And what he did? He terrorized the population with violence. Okay? And established total control. He was a tyrant. He wasn't a benevolent ruler. He harassed the population of Afghanistan. So this period did not allow any good relationship to be developed with any of the countries, not only India. सबने लिख लिया है? Hope so. And this incidents, these things gave opportunity to one of the called era powers, USSR, Soviet Union, jumped into Afghanistan to manage the things. So next heading is So this period of confusion continues. People of Afghanistan and even the outside world is not aware कि what is actually happening there. There was infighting. So Soviet Union said that we are going to manage the things in Afghanistan, and they sent Soviet Union sent 30,000 troops to wrest power in the hands of communist गवर्नमेंट. व्हाट दे डिड, इन्होंने जो रूलिंग गवर्नमेंट थी उसको हटा दिया, और उसके बाद क्या किया, दे सेंट 30,000 ट्रूप्स इनिशियली. इन्होंने क्या है, जो रूलिंग गवर्नमेंट थी उसको हटा के और एक कम्युनिस्ट गवर्नमेंट वहां पे रख दिया, एंड सेंट 1 लाख soldiers to guard the cities. मतलब अराउंड 1,50,000 सोल्जर्स रशिया से वहां चले गए. एंड this is the period when Afghanistan people, like you must have read in history, मॉडर्न हिस्ट्री में आपने ये चीज पढ़ी होगी कि अफगानिस्तान वाले कभी अलाउ नहीं करते थे. इफ सम अदर कंट्री ट्राई टू कैप्चर देम, दे नेवर अलाउड आउटसाइडर्स टू रूल देम. दे ऑलवेज रिवोल्टेड, दे फॉट फॉर देयर फ्रीडम. इट वाज ओके फॉर देम टू बी रूलिंग बाय सम ऑफ देयर ओन ट्राइब्स, but the moment somebody from outside tried to venture in Afghanistan, they always destroyed them. And same things started happening again. ठीक है, तो ये जो इंसिडेंट है ये आपका 1979 की हम बात कर रहे हैं. दिस हैपेंड इन 1979. ठीक है, एंड देयर मुजाहिदीन्स, मुजाहिदीन ये वर्ड आपने सुना होगा. You must have heard of this word. मुजाहिदीन का मतलब है the people who engage in jihad. The people who engage in jihad. Jihad is holy war. Okay? So mujahideens fought against Soviet soldiers. ठीक है, अब यहां लड़ाई छिड़ गई है. द सेम ईयर, प्रद्युम्न, द सेम ईयर, वो क्या है कि 79 में जब गए, पहले गया, फिर क्या है कि वहां लोग रिवोल्ट करने लगे. द सेम ईयर मतलब क्या है कि दे स्टार्टेड सेंडिंग पीपल. ओके, एंड दिस इज नॉट इंपॉर्टेंट, पीटी में भी नहीं पूछने वाले हैं, बस आपको जानकारी के लिए ये इंफॉर्मेशन मैं दे देता हूं. ऐसे जो जरूरी चीजें होंगी डेफिनेटली आई विल टेल यू. ठीक है, डोंट बी वरीड अबाउट सच थिंग्स. नाउ this was a period when US and Pakistan supported mujahideens. So Afghanistan became not Indian Mujahideen. That is a different group. Mujahideen is a word जिसका मतलब होता है the people who engage in jihad. इंडिया में जो लोग क्या है कि इस आइडियोलॉजी में बिलीव करते हैं वो इंडियन मुजाहिदीन्स, they call themselves. ठीक है, Now this became, Afghanistan became a playground for the Cold War. USA tried to make sure that Soviet is humiliated and defeated. So they started arming these people, Mujahideens. And a situation came when Soviet was not in a position to sustain this place. There was no form of government there in Afghanistan, and a period of void. A period of, next heading is period of void in relationships. There was no actual government existing for almost 10 years. There was a government in name, that was a communist government, but they had no control. जैसा हमने कल देखा था कि बहुत सारे वॉरिंग ग्रुप्स हैं, आज भी गवर्नमेंट का कंट्रोल नहीं है, वैसे उससे भी बुरी हालत थी. द गवर्नमेंट हैड नो कंट्रोल. जहां भी जाओ बम फेंक दे रहे हैं, गोली मार दे रहे हैं, ऐसा ही चल रहा है. ठीक है. तो पीरियड ऑफ वॉइड इन रिलेशनशिप्स विथ रेस्पेक्ट टू इंडिया. देयर वर नो इंटरनेशनल रिलेशनशिप्स. कुछ भी नहीं हो रहा था. एंड there was a void, no relationship with India or other parts of world. Till this started in 1979 and up to 1989. So though India had, Anish sir, can I say that China is playing COVID card in form of Cold War? China is not in a position at this point in time. China's policy is completely different. It is playing on the basis of economic might and proximity to some of the countries. It is disturbing the neighborhood only. And maybe you are aware or not, there is a theory called as Mackinders theory. You must have not heard of, और ये important भी नहीं है. And it is following that theory. It says that अगर आप क्या है कि neighborhood को disturbed रखते हैं, तो चीजें क्या है, उसके अगेंस्ट नहीं हो सकती है. मतलब जिससे आपको थ्रेट है उसको आपस में लड़वाते रहो, तो उससे अपने ऊपर थ्रेट नहीं आएगा. तो दिस इज व्हाट यूएस वाज डूइंग प्रीवियसली, दिस इज व्हाट चाइना इज डूइंग टुडे. ठीक है. तो दिस वाज अ पीरियड ऑफ वॉइड इन रिलेशनशिप. इंडिया वाज अ मेयर स्पेक्टेटर, रेस्ट ऑफ द वर्ल्ड वाज अ मेयर स्पेक्टेटर, एंड इट कंटिन्यूड टिल सोवियत एग्जिट. ठीक है. इसके बाद जो पीरियड आया वो है सोवियत exit and rise of extremists. Just note it down. These phases are not very important. जो important है, या दीपक, सोवियत एग्जिट एंड राइज ऑफ एक्सट्रीमिस्ट. अब सोवियत क्यों किया, यहां पे दे केप्ट फाइटिंग एंड सोवियत लॉस्ट मोर देन 15,000 soldiers. As we have seen, Pakistan and USA were supporting the fundamentalists, the extremist groups. So there was guerrilla war and many of the soldiers of Soviet were killed. And in 1989 it was very clear to Soviet that they cannot do anything in Afghanistan. वहां रहने का मतलब है कि वो सिर्फ soldiers मरने वाले हैं, वो लोग कुछ भी नहीं कर पाएंगे. So what they did, they left. Soviet decided to leave left on account of on account of okay, they said that they'll establish a government, but they could not. They simply could not establish any form of government. And here the Talibans come into picture. The Pashtun tribe were provided with arms. So they became they became powerful. They know that they have arms, they are powerful, they can dictate the terms. But as before leaving, one thing what they did, they reinstated a puppet form of government, and Afghanistan declared that they are again non-aligned. The government was not communist anymore. They declared that they are non-aligned. Okay. So these are things that you need to do. Just note it down. These things are not going to be asked in the exam. Chances are very slim. Some of the things you can mention. It is, I am discussing these things only to ensure that you have an organic flow when you think about the things. You understand the things in an organic way. तो इसीलिए क्या है कि इस फॉर्म में हम लोग पढ़ रहे हैं. So Soviet exit के बाद more or less they kept on fighting amongst themselves and nothing much happened in the meanwhile. Okay, there was a government in name, उसका कुछ नहीं था. एक what America did, they established a relationship, other states established relationship, but Taliban was very dominant. So we have seen this. I hope you have noted it down. Okay. Then the period of weak government. Okay. The period of weak government, this is basically the period from 1989 to 1996. In fighting, like today's situation, among the tribes, वो आपस में लड़ रहे थे. Taliban attacks, and government had minimal control over areas. Government had minimum control over areas. ठीक है, noted down. So this was a period of weak government. Nothing much was happening. All of the world, even India was trying to establish some relationship. We were assuring them that things are going to change. Everything will be fine. Yeah, Deepak, things happened like that. Some of the rough estimates suggest that during that period, as many as 8 lakh people were killed. There was exodus of more than 15 lakh population out of those areas. So the situation was really pathetic. But we got to focus on the things Here we need to focus. So I hope everybody has marked this thing you have written. Uh, am I audible to all of you? Can you hear me? I want somebody to respond. Okay, Ankit. Yeah, so this was the time when the government was very weak. And when the government was really weak, then these non-state actors try to become dominant. No, Pratyush, there is no control of the Afghanistan government on most of the areas. When we started with Afghanistan and India relationship, I drew a map and I have shown that around only approximately 50 to 55% of the area of Afghanistan was under the control of the government, but rest of the part was not. But the rest of part was not. ठीक है? So the period of weak government, after that, the period when a situation arised that is very similar to the situation that is happening today. This is the very reason why India is a friend. There was the phenomena of Taliban. It was year 1996. The Taliban forces suddenly attacked the government institutions. Taliban forces, just write down. Well, look, there is some problem, I guess, with the electricity. So I want you to write down this statement. The Taliban forces, the Talibani forces captured the Talibani forces captured the government institutions, and kept control over the government, kept control over the government, They killed the president. They killed the president, Muhammad Najibullah. They killed the president, Muhammad Najibullah. They also massacred or killed, they also killed the American ambassadors, by attacking the embassy, the American embassy. ठीक है? So this was a period in 1996. What they did? Suddenly they destroyed the government. The Taliban captured Afghanistan and as declared it as the state of Islamic Emirates of Afghanistan. And what still they are doing? Islamic and you must be seeing this name only in the newspaper. This is the name which again and again Taliban is using. ठीक है? इस नाम को यूज करने से उन्हें क्या फायदा होता है? Taliban is always associated with what? Taliban is associated with terror. But this name, Islamic Emirates, ये soothing है. It is a soothing name. It is, the Taliban can hide behind this name. The heading was the same heading that we were discussing. Phenomena of Taliban. उसी में हम लोग बात कर रहे थे. द फेनोमेना ऑफ तालिबान जो आपने लिखा था वो उसी में क्या है कि उसी का पार्ट था ये. ओके, सो फ्रॉम this period, the phenomena of Taliban continued till 2001. Till this time, there was no relationship with the world. It was a playground for non-state actors. Countries like Pakistan established many terror outfits there, many terror camps there. Okay, so the period was a period of confusion. And Al-Qaeda, what they did? The next heading is 9/11 attacks. And US invasion. War against terror. Till this time, India was a mere spectator. India had nothing to do. They were always afraid because Taliban was always against India. They still are. But for last 2-3 months, they were speaking about some of the good things about India. That it is our neighbor, will try to keep good relationships and all. We'll be discussing that, why they are doing it. ठीक है? अब यहाँ क्या हुआ? When US went into Afghanistan, they defeated Taliban. They defeated Taliban and government was established. ठीक है? फिर से क्या है? नई गवर्नमेंट को एस्टेब्लिश किया गया, इंटरिम गवर्नमेंट इन काबुल. Yeah, Arun, it gains sympathy from whole of the world, but most of the world is not interested because it is too much disturbed. Most of the countries know कि कुछ किया तो हो सकता है तालिबानी, IS ये सब क्या है कि उन्हें भी तंग करेंगे. ठीक है? तो यहां पे क्या है कि एक गवर्नमेंट बन गई. नाउ अब जब गवर्नमेंट बन जाएगी तो क्या होगा? नाउ अगेन इंडिया कम्स इनटू पिक्चर, राइट? बट so this is the time when relationships start again. Relationship again established. अब यहां क्या है, दोबारा रिलेशनशिप एस्टेब्लिश किया गया. अब इंडिया वॉज अफ्रेड, इंडिया हैड was facing troubles of terrorism, so it was very very cautious until and unless there was another government. India did not tried much. They wanted to establish the relationship. We tried some of the things, we opened some of the consulates, but there was no proper embassy in Afghanistan until and unless Taliban was defeated by the US forces. So what India did, if we talk about, पहली चीज क्या है, if you want to establish a relationship with any of the country, you have to have a place where your diplomat can stay, from where they can continuously be in touch with those governments in order to convey the things that our government wants them to know. So India established the embassy. First चीज क्या हुई, India established एम्बेसी. ठीक है, कीप नोटिंग इट डाउन. फिर से हमने एम्बेसी स्टेब्लिश कर दी. कॉन्सुलेट मिशंस हमारे थे, उनको हमने अपग्रेड किया. ठीक है, एम्बेसी मिशंस, बेसिकली कंसुलेट मिशंस. ठीक है, इन सम ऑफ द सिटीज. Yeah, Ravi, in the later time it did happen, but Pakistani hand was there. These were the things it happened. ठीक है, and India participated to rebuild Afghanistan. We started making some of the investments so that Afghanistan can become a normal country. It sees some of the developments so that the people who are joining the terrorist outfits will stop doing so, and they'll focus on things which are important for their growth and development, right? India granted money for many projects. India granted money for many projects. India also participated at international forums to help Afghanistan. ठीक है, we went to the international forums and we said that it is important that there is some stability in the Afghanistan. And it was not only important from the perspective that we wanted Afghanistan to develop. We were feeling insecure because of the conditions that were prevailing there, right? And ठीक है, सबने नोट कर लिया, I hope. India also upgraded this relationship. We upgraded the relationship to political and strategic relationship. So we established political and strategic relationship. ठीक है? These are all stories that you want to know. After 9/11, I had discussed this thing in the first day only, that US and Western countries were never interested in any of the terrorist groups until and unless they benefited. Okay? They were the people who are responsible for giving power to Taliban. But in 1996, Taliban attacked them. And what US did, it was not much concerned with Afghanistan. They simply left. Some of their people died, but they left. But in 2001, the attack was on their land. So they came back and destroyed the fort of Taliban. And hereafter, things kept rolling on. And most recent, अगर हम बात करते हैं अभी के बारे में, तो दिस सेम रिलेशंस आर स्टिल इम्पॉर्टेंट. सेम कंटेम्प्रेरी इशू ज़्यादा इम्पॉर्टेंट है हमारे लिए. अगर इसमें आखिरी एक कोई पॉइंट हम बात कर सकते हैं, तो पीएम मोदी visited Afghanistan. We were helping them with each and everything. वो हम क्या है कि टॉपिक्स में देखने वाले हैं. हिस्टोरिकल इवेंट्स की हम बात कर रहे थे अभी तक. इन्होंने क्या किया, जाने के बाद मोदी जी इज लाइक न्यू नाइबरहुड फर्स्ट पॉलिसी. ही गिफ्टेड चीता हेलीकॉप्टर्स, गिफ्टेड cheetah helicopters, and promised strong bilateral ties. यहां तक क्या है कि this is the thing that will help you. Kandahar and all, hijacking, these things are not much important, Deepak. Kandahar, we are talking about international relationships. When you'll be reading about India since independence, the topics, you'll be reading about some of those things. Kandahar was, Taliban's were responsible. It happened in the time when Taliban was having control over that area. In fact, they were not directly involved. When Indian government tried to bring back the airplane, it was Talibani people who actually helped India do that. So there is a mix of reactions. There is a lot of confusion who actually wanted that thing to happen. And we all know it was only Pakistan. Pakistan was responsible for that. We cannot completely blame Taliban. ठीक है? That was an event which has more political overtones, security overtones, and it didn't play much of a role in international relationship. The reason being, the power which was reigning in Afghanistan was a terrorist outfit. ठीक है? तो हम उसमें क्या है कि उसको इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस के हिसाब से उस मूवमेंट को बहुत ये नहीं कर सकते हैं. ओके? So these are the things with respect to the historical perspective of the relationship between India and Afghanistan. Now we'll be focusing on the important points. I hope everybody has noted this thing. The historical perspective is important in order to make sure that you have some background. Now we'll be moving to the important issues, the contemporary issues. Okay? We'll be looking at some of the contemporary issues that are actually important in this relationship, and that can be where you can have a question. And of course you will have a question on this, because every third, fourth day there is a news on India, Afghanistan, right? We are really concerned. Even if you look, 1st May was the date of resolving all the issues with Afghanistan and Taliban, but that didn't happen. ठीक है? तो वो चीजें ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है, हम उस पर फोकस करते हैं अभी. तो विल लुक एट द कंटेम्पररी रिलेशंस. and you will have a question from this area only. Adi, I'll be discussing in case Afghanistan will go to Taliban, what can be impact. We'll be discussing that. I'm moving towards that. The topic is contemporary relationship, the contemporary things which are important. Now we'll be discussing. So now we'll start with this part only. ठीक है? Now the most concerning thing between these is the US Taliban peace pact. We can have a question on this इस साल या अगले साल भी, क्योंकि it has not been resolved. This is the issue which is most important to India at this point in time. India is literally nervous about this situation. We are not aware what can happen. Like your question, तालिबान के अंदर चला गया तो क्या होगा, इसी सवाल का जवाब ढूंढ रही है गवर्नमेंट. ठीक है, अब ये यूएस तालिबान पीस पैक्ट क्या है? दिस इज ए पैक्ट टू ब्रिंग पीस इन अफगानिस्तान. ठीक है, दिस इज अ पैक्ट टू ब्रिंग पीस इन. US didn't leave, Ravi. This is the problem. Still 2,500 soldiers are there. Well, I am just talking about this thing. यही हम बात कर रहे हैं अभी. I have started doing that. ठीक है, ये कहा था उन्होंने, यही पैक्ट था. ठीक है, नाउ हियर व्हाट हैपेंड. इस पैक्ट में कहा गया कि जो डिमांड है उनकी, इस्लामिक इमिरेट ऑफ अफगानिस्तान विल बी एस्टेब्लिश्ड. ठीक है, दिस इस्लामिक इमिरेट ऑफ अफगानिस्तान will be established. ठीक है, अब ये मानने का मतलब क्या हो गया? द मोमेंट यू आर यूजिंग दिस नेम, इसका सेकंड पॉइंट अपने आप क्या हो जाता है? बोथ तालिबान एंड अफगान गवर्नमेंट will share power. And this was done during the reign of President Trump. And you know, US is always non-reliable country, and Trump was one amongst those जिसकी बात पे आप भरोसा नहीं कर सकते थे. अभी क्या है कि करजाई was expecting the other people who were related with these things, they were all expecting what? कि अफगानिस्तान को बचाने के लिए यूएस है वहां पे, लेकिन दे डायरेक्टली मतलब कोई मतलब नहीं है जैसा छोड़ दिया. अभी दे डोंट केयर, मतलब जो भी हो तुम लोग आपस में समझो, आर सोल्जर्स आर डाइंग सो विल गो. हम क्या है कि छोड़ देंगे. उनको चाहिए क्या? पर बस एक कंडीशन, वो क्या है? अफगान soil will not be used against US. दुनिया के साथ क्या हो रहा है उससे भी इन्हें ज्यादा मतलब नहीं है. ठीक है, they said कि just we want to make sure that no Deepak, it cannot happen. You cannot divide the country and the problem will solve. बहुत सारे कंट्री, साउथ सुदान, नॉर्थ सुदान डिवाइड हो गए, अभी भी वो बर्बाद है. ठीक है, तो ये कोई सॉल्यूशन नहीं है तोड़ देना। नाउ दीज आर द थिंग्स दो यूएस ने बोला, ठीक है। अब इसके बाद क्या हुआ, नोट इट डाउन, ये इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट्स हैं जो आपको एग्जाम में लिखने होंगे। सो आई वॉन्ट यू टू नोट दिस डाउन। अब ये एक पैक्ट है ओवरऑल, अगर हम इसकी बात करते हैं, अब ये जो बातें हैं वो चल रही हैं, और इसके बाद क्या है कि इन्हीं बातों में कई राउंड ऑफ टॉक्स हुए, कई लोग इसमें इंडल्ज हुए। मैनी ऑफ द पार्टीज ट्राई टू फिगर आउट कि क्या हो सकता है, ठीक है। तो दे सेड कि ए न्यूट्रल प्लेस विल बी चूजन वेयर ऑल द टॉक्स विल हैपन। सी पॉइंट इज अफगान सॉइल विल नॉट बी यूज्ड अगेंस्ट यूएसए, ठीक है। दे विल नॉट अलाउ एनी टेररिस्ट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन टू बी इन अफगानिस्तान, यही सिंपल पॉइंट, ठीक है। नाउ दे चोज दोहा एज ए प्लेस वेयर द टॉक्स विल हैपन, ठीक है, न्यूट्रल प्लेस पे। तो दोहा टॉक्स, दोहा कहां पे है, कतर में है, ठीक है, दोहा टॉक्स। अब हियर all the stakeholders, the US and their allies, ठीक है, उन सबको क्या है यहां पे बुलाया गया। यहां क्या हुआ, they talked about intra Afghan talks, intra Afghan talks, ठीक है, because you are negotiating with whom, you are negotiating with a terrorist group। सोल्जर्स मूव आउट हो जाएंगे तब भी अफगानिस्तान सोल्जर से एश्योरेंस चाहिए। अफगानिस्तान हैज टू, दिस तालिबान एंड द अफगान गवर्नमेंट हैज टू टेल देम दैट हमारे यहां टेररिज्म नहीं होगा, दैट्स इट, वही रेलेवेंस है उसका। नाउ अब इसमें इंट्रा अफगान टॉक्स, USA said that all the stakeholders, UN members who are concerned about Afghanistan can come and join, and they can talk about the things which are relevant when a new form of government will be formed between Taliban and the incumbent Afghan government. Then the topics, the heads that are important here, they talked about some of the things. They want to make sure that we know what is the future political roadmap to Afghanistan. Future political roadmap. इसका क्या मतलब हुआ? How the power will be shared between Taliban and the Afghan government. ठीक है, आगे कैसे कैसे करने वाले हैं चीजों को. The power sharing. The power sharing. This is important because India and even rest of the world is fearful that the moment US soldiers, the rest of 25,000 who are remaining there still, the moment they leave, Taliban will repeat 1996. It will control whole of Afghanistan and kill all the people who are part of this government which is existing there. And you must be aware about Yusuf Malala Zai. And she is the lady who was sought for education. So the world is also concerned about rights of women. So the talks are also about rights of women in Afghanistan. The world wants to ensure that women are treated well in Afghanistan. This is a country where horrendous crimes happen against women. So they want to know कि क्या होने वाला है. And if somebody speaks against these Talibans, they usually kill them. So the world also wants to make sure that there is freedom of speech. Okay, the freedom of speech is also important, plus the existing constitution. Yeah, the America supported them to humiliate Russia. Now Russia is supporting them to humiliate America. This is just part of global politics. Okay? Now, Talibanis were responsible for, she belongs to Pakistan, but she belongs to the Baluch tribe, which same kind of treatment happens in Afghanistan as well. She was the lady who was talking about freedom. Even Pakistan do not have control over all the parts. You must be aware. It is better than Afghanistan, but they also have places where tribal lords are having complete control over the area. ठीक है? Freedom of speech के बाद they want to change the constitution. Changes in constitution. Before handing over the power to the new government, it is like they want to know what can be the change in the constitution. And the most important factor, there are Talibani people who are roaming around the land with guns. So what they will do? What they'll do? You cannot recruit them in military because they have killed so many innocent people. And you cannot snatch the guns because they will feel powerless. So there has to be a way out. So what will be the fate of Talibani militia? So these are the factors which were considered. ठीक है? Note it down. So these are all the factors which are important. Intra-Afghan talks, and you, of course, you can understand these are such a topic that even very vivid democracy like India has not been in a position to give freedom of speech to everyone. Still, women are subjugated. Still, we don't know what is the future of Naxalism. So these kind of question for a country which is already in a rough patch is impossible. And that too, who are talking about these things? The people who do not belong there, right? जिसको कोई मतलब ही नहीं है, वैसे लोग इन चीजों की बात कर रहे हैं. So of course क्या होना है? कुछ आउटकम नहीं आना है. ठीक है? Hope you have noted it down. Now we'll move to the next stage. अब यहां जो अभी हो रहा है, अब part of this program, you must have read in the newspapers recently that many Afghani Talibanis were left. Talks चल रही थी, and what they did, they were released from jails, and they went back to these their core groups and started fighting against the government. So when Biden government came, they had actually, Trump had decided that by 1st of May the solution for Afghanistan will be there. But Biden, looking at the circumstances in Afghanistan, said that USA may not recall 2,500 soldiers is stationed in Afghanistan as there can be a repeat of 1996 events. So Biden was very clear. They said that I do not believe in these Talibani people who are terrorizing most of the world, and it is very unlikely that we'll be recalling the 25,000 soldiers that are stationed there. Okay? So he wasn't ready to do that. Okay? Because they had killed the president, they had killed the people. So it was very, very unlikely. And this, the moment when he declared this thing, the Taliban was perplexed. It was confused. What's happening? So Taliban started attacking the people, bombing the consulates, bombing the embassies. There was attack on, in fact, Indian embassy as well. And their defense minister was also shot. So many things happened. But what Taliban, now we'll look at Taliban's stand. So some of the events, it is a continuous process. This year or next year, you'll definitely get a question on this. Even yesterday, there was a news. We'll be talking about that as well. In today's newspapers, you can see that news. Okay. So Taliban said that we will support the Afghan government. Establish cordial relationship with neighbors. अभी ये क्या बोल रहा है? इनकी बातें ये हैं कि हम सब कुछ अच्छा अच्छा करने वाले हैं. And what they are doing? But they increased attacks. So the message is very clear. If USA is not pulling back their soldiers, they won't allow this government to run the show properly. And you must be aware that India is the only country which did not involve in the negotiation with Taliban. Rest of the country, if you talk about China, European Union, Pakistan, for that matter, Japan, each one of these countries, what they did, they talked about दोहा के पार्ट में ये सारी चीजें चल रही हैं. जो फर्स्ट मे को हमने बात की थी, फर्स्ट मे को क्या है कि खींच लेंगे, वो दोहा के बारे में ही चल रहा था. ठीक है. एंड जब तालिबान ने क्या है कि ये बातें कही कि हम सब कुछ करेंगे, अटैक बढ़ा दिया. नाउ बिडेन इज अवेयर कि थिंग्स कैन गो हेवायर, चीजें कंट्रोल में नहीं रहेंगी शायद. तो अभी दोहा वाला तो इन्होंने रिजेक्ट कर दिया, तो अभी क्या करेंगे? अब हम क्या करेंगे? कुछ नया एक रास्ता निकालना होगा. सो दोहा टॉक्स स्टॉल्ड, रुक गए. सो न्यू एंगेजमेंट्स. अभी यूएसए क्या है कि इट इज अ वेरी शार्प कंट्री. दे नो दैट दे हैव टू प्रोटेक्ट देयर इमेज, प्लस दे हैव टू प्रोटेक्ट देयर सोल्जर्स एज वेल. तो अगर अचानक में अभी छोड़ देते हैं, ठीक है, अचानक में ऐसे ही छोड़ दिया गया, तो क्या होगा? फिर से कंफ्यूजन होगा, बम मारेंगे, हो सकता है कि एम्बेसी पे अटैक हो जाए, कुछ यूएस के सिटीजन्स मरे. एंड वी आर ए कंट्री, डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज डोंट केयर इफ आवर पीपल आर किल्ड आउटसाइड. विल टॉक फॉर 2 days and will forget. But the people of USA are like what? They'll keep asking their government until and unless the killing of their citizens is avenged. So Biden knows कि अगर मैंने ऐसे ही छोड़ दिया तो चीजें बहुत ज्यादा खराब हो जाएंगी. राइट. सो व्हाट ही डिड, इसने बोला कि न्यू सीरीज ऑफ टॉक्स होना चाहिए इस्तांबुल में। बिडेन सेड, बिडेन और यूएस इन ब्रैकेट, देयर शुड बी न्यू engagements between world Taliban and Afghan गवर्नमेंट। ठीक है, अब इन्होंने बोला कि नई जगह, दोहा क्या है कि पुराना हो गया है, नाउ लेट्स गो टू इस्तांबुल, एट इस्तांबुल, राइट, टर्की में जाके बात करेंगे। एंड नाउ दिस हैज क्रिएटेड अ प्रॉब्लम। Turkey was always seen as a secular country and it is one of the developed country of that area. And Taliban is somewhat they are tribal people who only fought. So now this proposal going to Istanbul has actually created a confusion in the minds of Taliban. They don't know what to do. They don't want to go to Istanbul for the talks because they know that things will get dragged and US soldiers will stay there. So what they said? So they wanted that they should allow the Afghan government and Taliban to give a statement. And in the meanwhile, the stakeholders, यहां हमने किसकी बात की? वर्ल्ड। ठीक है, अब ये स्टेक होल्डर्स के साथ क्या है? इनको कुछ तो बताना होगा। तो ये चीज जैसे ही क्या है कि इन्होंने बात कही, नाउ द अदर पीपल स्टार्टेड, रेस्ट ऑफ द वर्ल्ड स्टार्टेड मीटिंग। लोग क्या है कि बातचीत करने लग गए और एक आउटकम पे आए। आउटकम क्या है वो? दैट दे विल नॉट सपोर्ट तालिबान, तालिबान शुड नॉट गेट दिस थिंग। ठीक है, हमने शुरू में क्या बात किया था? इंट्रा अफगानिस्तान टॉक्स। तो इंट्रा ठीक है, अब क्या है कि इतनी बातें हो गई हैं, इस्तांबुल वाला स्टार्ट नहीं हुआ है, दोहा वाला रुक गया है। रेस्ट ऑफ द वर्ल्ड क्या कर रहे हैं? दे हैव टॉक्ड, और छोटे छोटे ग्रुप्स में क्या है कि एवरीबडी डिक्लेयर्ड व्हाट, कि दे विल नॉट सपोर्ट रेस्टोरेशन ऑफ इस्लामिक एमिरेट इन अफगानिस्तान। इसमें कौन कौन है? आपका यूनाइटेड नेशन, सरप्राइजिंगली चाइना, पाकिस्तान, ईयू, यूरोपियन यूनियन, इंडिया। इन्होंने क्या किया? इन्होंने कहा दे विल नॉट सपोर्ट इस्लामिक एमिरेट इन अफगानिस्तान। They said that they will not support this। ठीक है, तो अभी प्रीलिम्स पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से क्या है, एक यूनाइटेड नेशन सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल का रेजोल्यूशन का नंबर है जो आपको याद रहना चाहिए। ये किस में बात हुई? दिस वाज यूएनएससी, यूनाइटेड नेशन सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल रेजोल्यूशन 2513। दिस वॉज पास्ड रिसेंटली, ठीक है। दे डू नॉट सपोर्ट द आइडिया, अभी अभी बोला है। इफ वी टॉक अबाउट ईयू एंड इंडिया, ये आज के न्यूज़पेपर में ही है, आज के आज इन्होंने बोला है। इंडिया, नोट इट डाउन, दिस इज वेरी वेरी रेलेवेंट थिंग, क्योंकि इफ अगर आप में से किसी ने न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ा है तो ये आपने पढ़ लिया होगा, नहीं तो आज फिर लेक्चर के बाद देखिएगा, आप पढ़ लीजिएगा। Pakistan used to be a champion of Islam. They are still, but this has nothing to do with Islam. They are not fighting for Islam. They are actually fighting for control over the land. And that too, the means they are adopting is terrorism. And Pakistan is always blamed for this thing. Now in the world arena, when it has denied, तो थोड़ी image सुधर जाएगी, ये सोच के किया है बस, और कुछ नहीं है। India and EU, इनका स्टैंड क्या है? पहली चीज तो यही, जो यूएनएससी रेजोल्यूशन 2513 में पास हुआ था, ये चीज इन्होंने फिर से बोला है। प्रद्युम्न, व्हाट नंबर? दिस नंबर 2513, रेजोल्यूशन नंबर 2513। दे डिमांडेड immediate comprehensive, they demanded immediate comprehensive permanent ceasefire in Afghanistan. So this is the last thing that is available in news, ठीक है। इसके आगे कोई एक्टिविटी हुई नहीं है। आई वॉन्ट यू गाइज टू लीव एटलीस्ट 1 पेज, 1.5 पेज आफ्टर दिस पॉइंट, क्योंकि इस साल बहुत सारी चीजें होने वाली हैं इसमें। सो यूल फॉलो द न्यूज पेपर एंड वेन एवर देर इज सम इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट रिलेटेड टू दिस, नोट इट डाउन। सो लीव सम स्पेस, क्योंकि ये एकदम आपका रिसेंट तक हमने ये इसमें क्या क्या हुआ है हमने पढ़ लिया है, ठीक है। तालिबान के इशू पे क्या क्या हो रहा है, और एक बिल्कुल लेंथ पे मैंने क्या है कि सीज फायर का मतलब कि नो बडी विल फायर। सीज का मतलब क्या? रोक देना। फायर का मतलब गोली नहीं चलाना। तो जो तालिबान है वो भी गोली ना चलाए, जो गवर्नमेंट ऑफ अफगानिस्तान है वो भी गोली ना चलाए, लोगों को नहीं मारा जाए, टॉक्स पे फोकस किया जाए, ठीक है। लेकिन तालिबान ऑफ कोर्स नहीं मानने वाला है। तो दिस इज ऑल अबाउट दिस थिंग। सो लीव 1.5 पेजेस, अगर नोट कर लिया आपने, लीव अबाउट 1.5 पेजेस। नाउ विल लुक एट द एस्पेक्ट, द चैलेंजेस दैट तालिबान कैन क्रिएट फॉर इंडिया। सिर्फ if UN and EU participate in the things, then countries which were already part of them also join that talk or not. It depends on the country. Like India did not talk, मैंने अभी बताया ना, सबने बोला था, इंडिया ने स्टेटमेंट भी दे दिया EU के साथ, लेकिन तालिबान से उन्होंने बात ही नहीं की। तो इट सोनली डिपेंड्स ऑन इंडिविजुअल कंट्री। किसी को कोई जबरदस्ती बात नहीं करवा सकता है, सॉवरेन कंट्री को आप फोर्स नहीं कर सकते हैं, ठीक है। तो चैलेंजेस, So challenges to India if US leaves Afghanistan and Taliban takes control. ठीक है. यूनाइटेड नेशन सिक्योरिटी रेजोल्यूशन का मतलब है मनी. यूनाइटेड नेशन सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल जो है वो यूनाइटेड नेशन के मेजर डिसीजंस लेती है. इट टेक्स मेजर डिसीजंस. सो ए रेजोल्यूशन इज पास्ड. रेजोल्यूशन जैसे आपने पॉलिटी में भी पढ़ा होगा, रेजोल्यूशन क्या है कि सम ऑफ द मेंबर्स गिव अ रिटन स्टेटमेंट दैट दिस आर द थिंग्स विच आर कंसर्निंग अस एंड रेस्ट ऑफ द कंट्रीज स्टेप एंड सपोर्ट कि हाँ हाँ ये सही कह रहे हैं. तो दोज हु साइन आर लाइक सपोर्टिंग द रेजोल्यूशन. ठीक है. ओके. सो व्हाट आर द चैलेंजेस. सबसे पहले चैलेंज क्या है. इंडिया अफगानिस्तान हमने ज्यादा डिटेल में इसलिए देखा है क्योंकि दिस इज इंपॉर्टेंट, इस साल के लिए भी अगले साल के लिए भी. ठीक है. तो अभी क्या है कि सबसे बड़ा चैलेंज क्या है, सबसे बड़ा दिक्कत क्या है. तालिबान परसीव्स इंडिया एज अ हॉस्टाइल कंट्री. इंडिया एज ए हॉस्टाइल कंट्री. सो security threat to India. India is a close ally of USA. When India is a close ally of USA, of course, Taliban hates USA and Taliban hates each of the countries who appear getting close to USA. They bombed even Pakistan in the past. They did not leave even Pakistan, जो क्या है कि उनको पैसे भी दे रहा है और सपोर्ट भी दे रहा है. सो यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड कि हाउ मच दे कुड बी हेटिंग इंडिया. और क्या है दूसरा क्या है, इंडिया नेवर maintained any diplomatic threat, maintained any diplomatic relationship with them. Any diplomatic relationship in the past. When Taliban was in power. ठीक है. हॉस्टाइल कंट्री मतलब दुश्मन, डिसलाइकिंग, विच इज परसीव्ड एज एनिमी हु कैन हार्म. हॉस्टिलिटी वर्ड सुना है आपने, हॉस्टिलिटी से ही हॉस्टाइल है. ओके. तो दीज आर द थिंग्स. इंडिया ने क्या है कि इस बीच में एक बार भी उनको कांटेक्ट नहीं किया. रेस्ट ऑफ द नाइबरिंग स्टेट्स, even Bangladesh tried to establish relationship, Nepal tried to establish relationship, rest of the neighbors all of them did. और सबसे recent event जो अभी हमने बात की, India is the only country which did not engage with Taliban in Doha talks. So Taliban literally had a very bad impression of India. Yeah, Deepak, this is very tough thing, but these are not the first people who did that thing. If you are LTT, we were talking about, I said that they used women and children as human bombs. They were the first people to do so. Sri Lanka started this. Not Sri Lanka, LTT, the terrorist organization. We should not name a country for that. ठीक है, तो ये चीजें जब कर दी है तो तालिबान क्या है कि पॉजिटिव तो नहीं हो सकता है. Then all these things will culminate into what? The security issue. Plus Pakistan supports Taliban and India has bitter relations with पाक. ठीक है, तो दोस्त का दुश्मन दुश्मन हो गया, ऐसी चीज है कि पाकिस्तान विल डेफिनेटली यूज देम अगेंस्ट इंडिया. So these are the things. One more thing that was in news कि if all the soldiers pull out then what will happen. So some of the things ये तो होना ही था, but as हमने अभी अभी बात की कि जब Biden is not ready to do that, then the question becomes irrelevant. But still is instead अगर दोहा वाला लागू हो जाता, अगर दोहा लागू होता तो क्या होता? इंडियन गवर्नमेंट को बहुत सारे थ्रेट थे, बिकॉज यूएसए had written everything in the about itself only, but they did not talk about any other organization. It has seen Al Qaeda as a terrorist organization, so they talked about Al Qaeda, but India is threatened by each and every organization that is a non-state actor in Afghanistan. They did not talk about that thing. So India had security concerns, but उस वाले part में हम इसलिए नहीं जा रहे हैं because Biden has called off that treaty. एज एन ऑब्जर्वर मेंबर इन दोहा टॉक्स का मतलब यह हुआ कि यू आर नॉट डायरेक्टली ए पार्टिसिपेंट इन दैट. द टॉक्स वर स्टार्टेड बाय हुम? यूएसए. Between whom? USA, Afghanistan and Taliban. There were major three parties. So they are participants. But rest of the people are like, they'll stay. They are observers that क्या हो रहा है. अपने views देंगे. तो observer status यही कहते हैं. So this is all about the Taliban issue. Now we'll look at some other contemporary things. इसको हमेशा follow कीजिएगा. Leave some space after this as well. Add some new points whenever it is in news. Now we'll look at other aspect. The second aspect is COVID-19 related issues. Now we'll look at some other aspects of cooperation. कोविड खत्म हो जाएगा तो ये सब चीजें क्या है, अपने आप ही इररेलेवेंट पॉइंट हो जाएंगे. दिस विल नॉट रिमेन अ रिलेवेंट पॉइंट. बट अगर इस साल कुछ लोग देने वाले हैं, 22 में देने वाले हैं, तो डेफिनेटली दिस पॉइंट इज ऑल्सो इंपॉर्टेंट. ये क्या है? इंडिया इज हेल्पिंग अफगानिस्तान with medical equipments, vaccines and food supply. ठीक है, अगर कोई इसमें मेजर डेवलपमेंट होता है तो यू विल बी एडिंग सच पॉइंट्स, बट दीज आर लाइक वेरी स्मॉल पॉइंट्स. जो एकदम नई चीजें हैं वही इंपॉर्टेंट है. बाकी रिलेशनशिप्स क्या है कि वी ऑल नो दैट अफगानिस्तान इज मोर और लेस डिपेंडेंट ऑन अस. दे आर, इट इज नॉट लाइक अफगानिस्तान कैन give something to us. It is all about what India is doing. Okay. So the third point, third contemporary issue is the Citizenship Amendment Act 2019. Abhi, this pact was seen as against the Muslims. There was a perception made by the media, some of the fanatics from both the communities, the Hindu community, the Muslim community. They projected this thing as if it has to do something with the religion. So there was some discomfort. Okay. So some doubts created confusion. In the relationship. So this is a contemporary issue. If somebody is writing in 2022, I don't think this point will also remain very relevant. The reason being, this news has died down, and whenever we are writing, we will try to write a point which is very recent, so that we can give a glimpse that you are well aware of the things whatever is happening. और अभी तक हम क्या है कि उसी प्रोसेस में कर रहे हैं. वी आर राइटिंग एवरीथिंग इन हेड्स. व्हाई? ताकि आप सीख सके कि आंसर राइटिंग कैसे करनी है. उस दिन हमने आंसर भी देखा था ताकि आपको आसानी हो इन चीजों से. एंड अदर पॉइंट ऑफ प्रॉब्लम इज चाइनीज इन्फ्लुएंस. Chinese influence means what? When Pakistan is getting money from China, they are developing, and Afghanistan, India has also made investments of around $2 billion. But they were looking forward towards China in order to gain some more. They wanted to gain some more from these relations. So, this Chinese influence confusion about tilt towards China created confusion. ये एक पॉइंट हो गया. दूसरा क्या है? We want to reach to Central Asia, right? And now there is an economic corridor being developed by China in Pakistan. So Pakistan as a country was difficult to convince to give us a transit. Now China is also involved, we definitely will not have transit. So issue of transit to Central Asia becomes Central Asia via Afghanistan. Via Afghanistan becomes difficult. ठीक है? Okay, Deepak. Yeah, That was not such a big concern, but still, if you want to know about it, you can. But don't write such points until and unless you do not have anything more relevant to write. ठीक है? So these are some of the issues which are important, and in the contemporary times, whatever will be in news, just pick some of the economic things that is happening. जैसे 2 साल पहले क्या है, सलमा डैम और फ्रेंडशिप डैम वाज इन न्यूज, तो हाइड्रो इलेक्ट्रिक प्रोजेक्ट एक आपकी हेडिंग अलग से हो सकती थी, बिकॉज दैट वाज कंटेम्प्ररी. पर आज की डेट पे क्या है, वो बन चुका है, लोग भूल गए. इट इज नॉट इन न्यूज, सो यू विल नॉट राइट अबाउट दिस थिंग. तो अभी जो रेलेवेंट है वो ये सारे रिलेशनशिप्स हैं. इसमें भी क्या है कि तालिबान वाला सबसे ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट था. अभी इसमें किसी को कोई कंफ्यूजन है, वी आर डन विथ दिस अफगानिस्तान रिलेशनशिप. लेकिन ये क्या है कि रेगुलरली न्यूज में रहने वाला है. मेक श्योर कि आप फॉलो कर रहे हैं. ट्राई टू फॉलो ऑल द न्यूज, नोट इट डाउन. और कोई कंफ्यूजन है तो अभी पूछिए, देन विल मूव टू द अदर रिलेशनशिप विच इज इंपॉर्टेंट, जो फिर से क्या है कि पिछले 2 सालों में स्पॉट में रहा है. The Taliban is like I said, Ravi, initially also I said कि तालिबान वर्ड क्या है, निगेटिव से एसोसिएट होता है. अब क्या है, वो इस्लामिक एमिरेट अपने आप को बोल रहे हैं. दे आर टेलिंग दैट वी आर नॉट द पीपल हु वर हार्मिंग इंडिया. वी आर एक्चुअली ऑलवेज गुड with India, but rest of the terrorist organizations who are here are against some of the nations. And if we come to power, will not allow any of the terrorist groups to do this thing. Heart of Asia Summit, नाम आप लिख सकते हैं. Heart of Asia Summit was, of course, you know that it was also held in March and it was not so successful. जहां outcomes नहीं आ पा रहे हैं वो बहुत important नहीं है. अगर आउटकम आ गया होता तो मैं उसकी बात करता. ठीक है. सो यू आपने न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ा है, ये इससे पता चलता है. दैट इज वेरी गुड. इफ यू आर फॉलोइंग समथिंग, उस समय इंपॉर्टेंट रहेगा तो उसको देखेंगे, बट डू नॉट ड्रैग दिस थिंग बिकॉज न्यूज में था, नहीं तो बहुत लंबा हो जाएगा. दैट समिट वाज जहां सब लोग जाके सिर्फ अफगानिस्तान को सॉल्व कैसे करेंगे इस बारे में सभी ने बात की थी. सो हार्ट ऑफ एशिया वाज इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर दैट मैटर ओनली, बट इट डिड नॉट कम आउट विथ एनी ऑफ द सरकम. लास्ट लाइन, इशू ऑफ ट्रांजिट टू सेंट्रल एशिया वाया अफगानिस्तान बिकम्स डिफिकल्ट. अच्छा, ये ठीक है. ये इसका मतलब है कि हम कहां जाना चाहते हैं. हमने जब गुजराल डॉक्ट्राइन की बात की थी, बाकी डॉक्ट्राइन्स की बात की थी, तो हमने एक बात कहा था कि या दिवम इट कुड हैव बीन ए क्वेश्चन, तो वो हमने डिस्कस कर ही लिया है. आई एम कमिंग टू दैट. इस पे पहले देखते हैं जो क्वेश्चन इन्होंने पूछा है. दिस इज लाइक ट्रांजिट की बात. दिस इज इंडिया. यहां क्या है कि हम सारे जानते हैं कि समवेयर ये हमारा पाकिस्तान है. Here we have अफगानिस्तान. यहां ईरान है. ठीक है, ये अफगानिस्तान. दिस इज पाक. इंडिया. चाइना इज क्रिएटिंग ए इकोनॉमिक कॉरिडोर. And what we want, India wants to reach Afghanistan. ये किस लिए, ताकि यहां सेंट्रल एशियन कंट्रीज में हम जा सकें. ओके. सो चाइना यहां पे है. दिस इज चाइनीज प्रोजेक्ट. अब यहां चाइना है. पाकिस्तान से तो हमने 1-2 ट्रीटी ऐसी की है जिससे वो अलाउ करता. पेट्रोलियम आज भी हम वी वर ट्राइंग टू ब्रिंग एंड इट वाज सपोर्टिंग. बट चाइना जब यहां पे है तो क्या है, हम क्लियरली इजी नहीं होगा हमारे लिए ना अफगानिस्तान जाना ना सेंट्रल एशिया जाना. ठीक है, तो इसी को एक्सप्लेन कर रहे थे. Pratyush, if somebody is given an exam in 2023, of course, these events that we have discussed, some of the themes are important. Continuity होनी चाहिए. अभी जो आप पढ़ेंगे, हमने क्या है कि बड़े बड़े जो मेजर पॉइंट्स है हिस्टोरिकल, वी हैव कवर्ड दैट, दे आर गोइंग टू रिमेन इंपॉर्टेंट. इसमें बस ऐड करते जाइएगा जो नई चीजें होंगी, मेजर चीजें. यू नीड टू ऐड ऑल द मेजर इवेंट्स. Taliban's control over Afghanistan. I had shown the areas, Suman. पहले दिन ही मैप बना के मैंने दिखाया था. तो वाया पंजाब भी आप जाएंगे तो कहीं से भी जाएंगे. When Chinese is influencing the Pakistan policy because they have invested money, तो वो easy नहीं है. चाइना यहां सिर्फ है तो क्या है कि हम पाकिस्तान को कन्विंस कर सकते हैं. नाउ देयर प्रेजेंस इज हियर. और ये इकोनॉमिक कॉरिडोर जो बन रहा है वो कहां तक जाने वाला है? अरबियन सी तक. तो इसीलिए नहीं हो पाएगा. मतलब इट विल बिकम टफ. ऐसा नहीं है कि इम्पॉसिबल है, बट क्या है कि पहले पाकिस्तान को कन्विंस करना, फिर चाइना को अपनी साइड लाना, दैट इज ए डिफिकल्ट जॉब. ठीक है. नाउ क्लियर. If some of you want, you can draw this diagram. ऐसी habit, like I always tell you, rough sketches always work. ये बना के दिखाएंगे तो अच्छा होगा. So everybody is done with this. Then I'm moving to Indo Myanmar relationship. ठीक है. Rough sketches and maps are always important. Make sure that whenever you are writing an answer, incorporate them. India and Myanmar. The relationship. It was also important. It is still important because Supreme Court has given some directions pertaining to Rohingya ethnic group. The Indian government want to send them back, and so this relationship becomes important. This is also important because in 2020, in this COVID situation, one of the important dignitaries, the general from Myanmar, visited India, and whole of the world was against this idea. Okay? The military junta is not invited because they are seen as dictators, but India invited. So this becomes important. India is considering Myanmar as gateway to Southeast Asia. Now our policy is Act East policy. So, of course, Myanmar is important. We want to reach there. So, some of the events that has happened in the recent past has actually made this relationship more important. And chances are there that there can be a question this year or next year. So neighboring states are always important. If 2-3 events with respect to some of the nation state is happening in our neighborhood, we can expect that there will be some questions. ठीक है. तो Indo-Myanmar relationship, we definitely know that it is our neighbor. We got independence in 1947. They got independence in 1948. And like we have been doing for rest of the nations as well, we are looking forward to a relationship that India is developing since their independence. So whenever we talk about the initial phases, basically we focus on the time when we got our independence. Yeah, Divam. There's a news about the projects have been sanctioned. So, of course, when investment, Indian private sector is investing the money, then we have a stake in the state. So, it is important. ठीक है? So, we'll start with the initial phase. I would like you to write these things. And the way we have been doing, I'm doing this thing in order to make sure that you do not require to read any book for this thing. With current affairs, it should be good enough. तो इसलिए क्या है कि हर चीज नोट कीजिए. You'll be wasting your time only if you'll be reading some of the books. अभी historical event के लिए book पढ़ रहे हैं. There are thousands of events that are written, but we'll not be focusing on those because some of the events are only important and they are the ones which are actually shaping the relationship today. So we'll be focusing on that only. अब like I said, initial phase में both got independence from, they were what? They both had British influence because they were colonized. Not all of Myanmar, but some part of Myanmar, and of course, whole of India was under the rule of Britain. So, when they got independence, both adopted democratic form of government both of these countries. Yeah, Devam, both of these are important, like I have mentioned. I mentioned these a while ago only. And both adopted democratic form of government and had similar views on many aspects as Nehru and U had cordial relations. ठीक है. तो many a times जब हम शुरू में पढ़ रहे थे तो हमने बोला था ना कि many a times the relationship is also dictated by the leaders. So Nehru was a global citizen and U, the first leader of independent Burma, that is Myanmar. Now it is Myanmar. In yesteryears, it was called as Burma. ठीक है. So they had similar views. So they adopted what? Democratic form of government, and there was cordial relationship. There was friendship. So initial phase, we were friendly with each other. Note it down. Just make a note of the things. This is initial phases 1948 to 49. Now in the second phase is the phase of civil war in Burma. 1949. As soon as they got independence, and the Burma was not even in a position to establish a full-fledged relationship with rest of the countries of the world, there was a civil war. So, in this civil war, India helped Burmese government with arms and ammunition. With arms. Because some of the ethnic groups tried to capture the power. So what India did? India provided arms to Burmese people. India also organized loans for Burma. India organized loans for Burma. India appealed to rest of the world to help Burma in this situation. And all these things helped both countries signed Treaty of Friendship. Treaty of Friendship in 1951. Treaty of Friendship in 1951. So initially we can see that the relationships were really cordial. India was providing help in every situation. We had Treaty of Friendship. We organized loans from them. We helped them in their trade. We tried to import some of the things from Burma, like rice and all. So we tried to make sure that our neighbor is happy with this relationship. But like most of the nations who got independent at that time, very few of the nations were there. India was almost an exception, you can say, that we did not see any form of dictators or oppressive regime. Here, the freedom of Myanmar did not last long because they were again suppressed by a military coup. And a dictator took control of everything. So, next heading is and it happened in 1962. In 1962, the military coup had disastrous impact on the relationship. There were atrocities on Indians in Burma, and they had to flee. उनको भागना पड़ा वहां से. सो ऑटोमेटिकली क्या होगा? रिलेशनशिप स्ट्रेन्ड, खराब हो गया. वहां डिक्टेटर ऊपर से इंडिया को टारगेट किया, बिकॉज इंडिया वॉज अ कंट्री विच वॉज अपीलिंग टू रेस्ट ऑफ द वर्ल्ड कि वॉट एवर हैपनिंग इन म्यांमार इज नॉट हैपनिंग राइट. It is important that, as we all know, this was a period when China attacked India. India was trying to save itself. And before that only, India appealed that whatever is happening in Myanmar is not happening right. So when China attacked, of course, the Myanmar was not in favor of India. So we had somewhat antagonistic relationship with these people. So note it down. Now this military coup plus India not supporting these people. So what happened? When, yeah, Rangoon was full of Indian population, Deepak. Still many of the Indians were there because of the Buddhist culture was spread there, and it was a very huge center of culture as well. Vipassana centers originated there, and many of the Indians used to go there for the businesses in timber and all. So a vast population, and during freedom also Rangoon was important. So after 1962, though China backed off after capturing parts of the country, but it knew that our neighbor Myanmar isn't in favor of India, so China started pushing insurgency, helping insurgents in Indo Burma. So next phase is China helping insurgents in Indo Burma. Basically, China was targeting India. We did not had a good relationship. So what China thought, that if they disturb India by fanning these insurgency movements, then India can be towed down. India will seek help from them. But what actually happened, that Burma became negative, because the insurgents were not only acting in India. What they did, they started moving between India and Burma. So if they were killing people here, they were definitely killing some of the people there as well. And the military junta was like, we were trying to have a friendly relationship with China, and what they are doing, they are harming us. So this thing in 1962, after this, write one statement in this head. China started aiding Northeast insurgents China started aiding Northeast insurgents and also gave push to ethnic insurgents of Burma. Ethnic insurgents of Burma. Ethnic insurgents of Burma. Hence, Burma became, hence, Burma became a little cautious. Burma became a little cautious and signed, Burma became little cautious and signed a boundary agreement, signed a boundary agreement. कहां तक लिखा है आपने सुमन? China started aiding India's northeast insurgents and started or gave push to ethnic insurgents. ये तो मैंने लिख ही दिया था. Yeah, that is, I have written this thing. First statement was India's northeast insurgents. China started aiding northeast insurgents. And then India and Burma signed the boundary agreement to solve the border issue. India and Burma, or you can write both the countries signed an agreement to solve the border issues. Now, phase of China-Burma warm relations. अब क्या हुआ? Now with this thing, when they did this thing, Burma became being a military state, and that too who used to favor the communist. What they did, they became close to India, and now Chinese got confused, and this thing happened around 1967. Now for next around 10 years, China could not do anything because the Burmese junta was very very convinced कि ये लोग क्या है कि सिर्फ बुरा करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं दोनों कंट्री का. उसके बाद क्या हुआ कि Mao died. When Mao died, तो चाइना ने बोला कि will go for economic reforms and will be focusing on only development. और उसके बाद इनको भी क्या बोला कि will not support any of the ethnic groups in your country. It is a guarantee. Will always deal in developmental things, economic things. And Myanmar was not a very technologically advanced country, or neither it were having lot of money. So what it did, it started coming close to China. लिख लीजिए, after Mao's death, after Mao's death, China initiated, after Mao's death, China initiated economic reforms. China initiated economic reforms and stopped supporting ethnic insurgents in Burma. Ethnic insurgents in Burma. China, बर्मा के बाद फुल स्टॉप, एथनिक इंसर्जेंट्स इन बर्मा, उसके बाद फुल स्टॉप. चाइना इन्वेस्टेड heavily. China invested heavily in the infrastructure programs of China invested heavily in the infrastructure programs of infrastructure programs of Burma, building building roads, railways, hydropower, road, railway, hydropower, and emerged as a great friend of Burma. Emerged as a great friend of Burma. Hence, relations with India deteriorated, and hence relationships with India deteriorated. ठीक है, अभी क्या है कि एक तरफ जैसे ही झुकेंगे, इंडिया चाइना के रिलेशंस अच्छे नहीं थे, तो जैसे ही क्या है कि वो इंडिया के करीब आएगा तो चाइना से रिलेशन खराब, चाइना के करीब गया तो इंडिया से खराब हो जाएगा. बट दिस इज नॉट द पीरियड. अभी क्या है कि वो अपने डेवलपमेंट तक सीमित नहीं है. नाउ द मिलिट्री junta stopped completely these insurgent groups. The insurgent groups started making safe havens in Burma. तो नेक्स्ट हेडिंग है आपका द राइज ऑफ इंडियन इंसर्जेंट ग्रुप्स. The rise of Indian insurgent groups in Burma. The rise of Indian insurgent groups in Burma. ठीक है. अब ये क्या है कि they got all the developmental facilities from China, so they focused on their development, some of the things, and China was always supporting the insurgent groups, those who are based in India and trying to disturb the peace of the country. So Burmese territory became a safe ground for most of the insurgent groups active in India, northeastern India. Almost 20 insurgent groups made their headquarters in Myanmar. In fact, if you इंटरनल सिक्योरिटी अगर आपका हो गया है तो आपने एनएससीएन के बारे में पढ़ा होगा. एनएससीएन, देयर वाज शिलोंग अकॉर्ड, जहां इन्होंने क्या है कि कुछ डिमांड्स रखे थे. इट वाज स्टार्टेड बाय हुम? Fizo Angami in 1952. He was arrested by the Indian government. They were demanding Greater Nagalim. Then he was arrested. Then he was released. After his release, the group NSCN was formed. अच्छा नहीं हुआ है आपका, तो आप लोग इसके बारे में पढ़ेंगे फिर. Then this group became very dominant in Nagaland. Then they split into two: NSCN Isaac Muiwa and NSCN Khaplang. The Khaplang had a strong presence in Myanmar, and they want some of the part of Myanmar as well in Greater Nagalim. ठीक है, तो शिलोंग अकॉर्ड फेल्ड. ये आप पढ़ेंगे इंटरनल सिक्योरिटी में. उसकी वजह से क्या हुआ? हेडक्वार्टर्स इन बर्मा. So this is one of the important militant group. Then you must have heard of उल्फा, इट वॉज अंडर परेश बरुआ, इन्होंने भी क्या किया, सेम यहां पे हेडक्वार्टर बना लिया. Yeah, it is an insurgent group. Pradyum, yesterday also you asked the difference between terrorist and insurgent, and I explained that to you. So this is an insurgent group who are demanding Greater Nagaland as a country. They want parts of Nagaland, parts of Arunachal, some part of Myanmar. वो आप internal security में पढ़ने वाले हैं, ठीक है? And there were almost 20 groups based in Burma. ठीक है? But obviously, if these things are happening, the relationship between the two countries will deteriorate, right? Now, the phase continued, the dictatorship continued, the policy of getting close to China continued, but there was a point in the history. ये नोट कर लीजिए आप लोग, ठीक है? ये वाला पार्ट नोट कर लीजिए. There was a time when things started changing in Burma. There was pro-democracy movement. Pro-democracy movement in 1988. प्रो डेमोक्रेसी मूवमेंट इन 1988. अब क्या है कि पीपल स्टार्टेड प्रोटेस्टिंग अगेंस्ट द मिलिट्री जुंता. दे वांटेड टू एस्टेब्लिश a democratic government, and the leaders Su Kui, अभी भी वो क्या है कि सी इज द लीडर. सो प्रो डेमोक्रेसी मूवमेंट इन 1988, and under this movement military did atrocities, and the movement vanished. ठीक है? इसके बाद क्या हुआ? इसके बाद स्टेट लॉ एंड ऑर्डर restoration council was formed. ठीक है? इसका क्या काम था? सारी जनता क्या है? अगेंस्ट हो गई. सारी जनता जब अगेंस्ट हो गई तो नाउ दिस म्यांमार मिलिट्री वॉज अंडर इंटेंस प्रेशर. They had to show कि कुछ कर रहे हैं वो. तो when this SLORC, when this was formed, then this is the time in 1988 when they decided that there has to be some kind of election, or at least we have to show that we can support democracy so that the people will not revolt again. They will not be doing any of the movements. So before doing that, they changed the name of Burma to Myanmar. This, they changed the name of Burma to Myanmar. ठीक है? This was the event 1988 में चेंज कर दिया गया. They replaced all the dictators. They are military. They are born to fight. The existence of the military is to fight. You'll never see, you'd have never met any of the soldiers till date. अगर कोई आसपास भी हो, वॉर होना चाहिए या नहीं होना चाहिए पूछेंगे तो क्या कहेंगे? हाँ, होना चाहिए. The soldiers are trained to fight. They do not believe actually in these things, right? And military junta is like when the government is weak and they feel like the government is not doing enough, so they take power. But whenever somebody is taking the power with the barrel of gun, they always do atrocity in the public. You must have heard of the quote that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. This is a very famous saying, because the moment you get power, many a times people fail to realize what is right and what is wrong. They see things from their own perspective. जो मुझे अच्छा लग रहा है वही चाहिए. ताकत क्या है कि आदमी को करप्ट बना देती है. मिलिट्री को हमेशा आदत होती है हाई हैंडेडनेस से ट्रीट करने की. अगर कोई गवर्नमेंट जैसे पाकिस्तान में भी हुआ था, और ये करना हमेशा वहां आसान है जहां पे क्या है कि मिलिट्री को ज्यादा पावर दी गई हो, या मिलिट्री हेड आपका क्या है कि हर फॉर्म ऑफ जो ये है यूनिट, जैसे एयरफोर्स, नेवी या मिलिट्री का एक ही हेड बना दिया जाए, जैसे पाकिस्तान में है, म्यांमार में है, तो इजीली कूप हो सकता है. गन से पावर मिलती है. इसीलिए आपने देखा होगा कि क्रिमिनल जो बनते हैं, क्रिमिनल्स, इवन दे नो कि हम मारे जाएंगे किसी दिन, will be arrested. Still that gun gives them power, a sense of power, and उसके बाद वो क्राइम करते रहते हैं, फिर मारे जाते हैं. This is more about psychological, a group psychology of military that takes over democratic form of government. ठीक है. So Suu Kyi, again here what happened with a popular movement? Started a popular movement, popular pro-democracy movement. And elections were held. अभी क्या है, बहुत ज्यादा डिमांड हो गई तो इलेक्शन करवा ही देते हैं. Now, when she started a democratic movement, initially it was suppressed. नहीं, वो नहीं कर सकते हैं. He is only top ranked officer among the equals का कॉन्सेप्ट है. उनके पास कोई डिस्कशन और एडवाइस की छोड़ के कोई पावर नहीं होती है. He is not having any power. That position is more of a advisory functions. They do not wield any control over the heads of army, navy or air force. तो इसलिए India never had threat. Even if let's say एक का मन है तो बाकी दो नहीं मानेंगे, तो अकेले कर ही नहीं सकते हैं. ठीक है. तो अभी क्या है कि इलेक्शंस हो गए, बट अब इलेक्शन आपने हल्ला किया इसलिए इलेक्शन करवा दिया, लेकिन पावर नहीं देंगे. सो दिस मिलिट्री regime continued. The power was not handed over. Power was not handed over, and military regime continued. अब कंटिन्यूड का मतलब क्या है? इंडिया डजंट हैव एनीथिंग टू डू. वी कैनॉट डू एनीथिंग. स्टिल द सेम मिलिट्री इज रूलिंग एंड दैट इज प्रो चाइना. सो आवर रिलेशंस डिड नॉट इंप्रूव. कुछ भी नहीं कर सकते थे हम. ठीक है. द इंडियन गवर्नमेंट डिड ट्राई टू गिव सपोर्ट ड्यूरिंग द डेमोक्रेटिक मूवमेंट, बट दैट एक्चुअली डिड व्हाट? दैट मेड बर्मा मोर एंटागोनिस्टिक टुवर्ड्स इंडिया. क्योंकि ये लोग क्या है कि सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं हमारे यहां दिक्कत करने के लिए. And the military rulers, of course, they never wanted to leave this power, the privilege. अब क्या है कि थिंग्स 88 में भी ऐसी ही रही. But our Prime Minister Narasimha Rao, when he came with the policy of look east, now the period of look east policy. Next heading is directly. Definitely, India knew कि हम नहीं कर पाएंगे. Myanmar is directly against us, and they are not democracy. And whole of the world wanted people to support only democratic countries. But we wanted to reach out to Myanmar, but directly we could not. So India adopted a policy of engagement with Burma, of engagement with Myanmar in multilateral groups and forums. एक कंट्री से तो डायरेक्टली बात करने की इतनी दिन से कोशिश हो रही थी, वो कर नहीं पा रहे थे. बट व्हेन वी स्टार्टेड विद द लुक ईस्ट पॉलिसी, देयर आर सेवरल ग्रुप्स वेयर म्यांमार इज आल्सो ए मेंबर, लाइक एशियन. इफ द क्लास इज स्टॉप्ड, हाउ द क्लास इज स्टॉप्ड? Did that stop for everyone? Or Subham, you are having some issues? Okay, rest of the people is, you can see, right? So we were talking about the look east policy. India was failing. Yeah, okay, if it is fine, I want you to write this. India was failing to engage properly with Myanmar. So what the India did, it started approaching this country in some of the forums like ASEAN. And now we started talking in terms of economic cooperation and all. So this policy actually helped India. So this engagement helped India to reduce Chinese influence. This policy reduced Chinese influence. And economic ties improved between Indo Myanmar. ठीक है. अब इकोनॉमिक एंगल जैसे ही आ जाता है तो कुछ रिलेशंस ऐसे ही सुधर जाते हैं, राइट? Most of the countries want to gain something. When India started engaging with ASEAN and these countries, rest of the eastern countries, they started giving importance to India because they knew India is an emerging country. They were also the emerging tigers of the east. So of course, and Myanmar was sandwiched between these two areas which were developing fast. So Myanmar thought that instead of getting tied with some country which is always playing games, that is China, why not try having good relationship with India, which is more predictable? So India started having economic ties with Myanmar. And there was also a perception that Chinese are exploiting the resources of Myanmar and saving their own resources. So finally, our relations improved, right? So relations The relation between India and China improved. And from now, India did not much interfere in the internal happenings of Myanmar. The relationships continued from 1996 to 2014. India was more concerned about this economic tie-up only. And again, there was pro-democratic movement after 2012. The pro-democracy movement and regime change. Okay, so military junta was more or less balancing the relationship between India and China. In fact, it can be said that most of the times, whenever India went for hot pursuit in Myanmar's territory, we definitely were not opposed, and some of the insurgency groups started moving out of Burma, right? But this pro-democracy movement, the same lady, 2015, Suki, 2015, over radio and all, she always spoke about how India could have established a good relation and everything. Okay? She said that she was very sad that since Nehruvian times, Myanmar didn't have good relationships and all. She talked about many things. But the moment she got elected, when the military junta allowed her to take power, right? What she did? She came to power and tried to balance India and China. In fact, she was more inclined towards Chinese relationship. The whole world has a perception. India even supported this idea that if democracy is there in Myanmar, then most probably we are going to have better relations than before. But this lady who was talking about good relations with India, who over radio uh, programs, she talked about why Myanmar failed not to develop relations with India. See, finally what they did? She inclined herself more towards China. And for that, the Modi government was in power. We saw that things are not improving. So in the same year, what India did? Cross-border strike. Yeah, Deepak, she studied in Delhi, she studied in USA, went back, participated in the pro-democratic movement since 1988, and finally she tasted power as well. But still the military junta is equally important there and they are powerful. So in 2015, what India did? Cross-border strike. And previously also India used to do that. It was a common practice. But what this government did? It made a lot of publicity. And any sovereign country, if somebody enters our territory and kills somebody and we cannot do anything, it means that we are weak. So Indian government went for a lot of publicity. The publicity urged Myanmar and the relations strained again. दो चीजें हो गई. इंडिया किस तरफ से क्या हुआ? इंडिया वालों ने क्या किया? सबको बताया कि हमने ऐसा काम किया है कि जाके वहां मार दिए इंसर्जेंट्स को, और उन्होंने क्या है, चाइना की तरफ वो बढ़ गए, तो चीजें फिर से डिटोरिएट हो गई. बट 2015 में ऐसा होने के बाद भी इंटरनल पॉलिटिक्स में बहुत सारे चेंजेस आए. सू की और जो मिलिट्री जनता उनका बन नहीं रहा था. बट इंडिया वॉज अवेयर दैट सू की इज मोर इंक्लाइन टूवर्ड्स चाइना, सो वी हैड टू टीच हर ए लेसन. सो व्हाट इंडिया डिड, द कमांडर in chief of Myanmar was invited to Delhi, and it was a clear message. If the pro-democratic government is not with us, probably the military government will make sure that we are friends. And this message was probably enough. And because of this thing, the relationships again started taking new turn. Okay? So, visit of Myanmar's military chief. ठीक है? This happened in 2017. So these are some of the major events जो आपके दिमाग में रहने चाहिए कि इंडिया ने कैसा. Everybody is playing games in the world politics. इर्क्ड, IRKED, चिढ़ जाना, ठीक है, खटकना जिसे हिंदी में कहते हैं. सो इन 2017 ही विजिटेड वाई मिलिट्री and democratic leaders shared frost relationship. This visit ensured that India is seen as important neighbor. Okay, अब इससे क्या है? The perception was different. The military junta was in favor of India because its chief was invited to India. Rest of the world never invited him. Nobody cared about him, right? So suddenly, some country, that to a big country like India, the neighbor, invites him. And this changes the equation in favor of India. And even in the times of COVID, our foreign secretary and chief of Indian Army visited Myanmar in 2020, that too very recently in October 2020. So there they went, they met the military junta, they met Suu Kyi, and these things have ensured that they'll be given all the support in COVID situation, and hence now it seems that the relationship has bit improved. ठीक है? Now the foreign secretary and army chief's visit. Next head is Indian Foreign Secretary and Army Chief's visit in October 2020. ओके तो यहां क्या हुआ? Assured Indian support during COVID. Helped with medical equipment, vaccines. ठीक है? Because the China was perceived in, this was the period when India became close to many of the countries. China was being perceived as the originator of this virus. And still many of the countries believe that it doesn't have a natural origin, though WHO has declared that it is of natural origin. But as it is prevalent in all the spectrums, there is no other virus. रोहिंग्या इशू इज इंपॉर्टेंट, विल बी डिस्कसिंग दैट. कंटेम्प्रेरी इशूज में पहला पॉइंट हम यही पढ़ने वाले हैं, बिकॉज फ्यू डेज बैक ओनली सुप्रीम कोर्ट गेव ए वर्डिक्ट अबाउट दिस रोहिंग्या इशू, सो इट इज इंपॉर्टेंट. It is really important. So I was talking about this virus thing, COVID virus. Most of the country believed that it was man-made. So the countries which were in good relations with China were also very frustrated, and they did not want to keep relationship with this country, which is the reason behind demise of so many people in all the countries. तो इसका क्या है कि फायदा हुआ, हम लोग गए, and we talked about robust political, military and economic development. So now Myanmar seems like they are in favor of us, and let's see. हमेशा जो बहुत क्लियरली नहीं रहा है तो क्या होने वाला है वो हम नहीं जानते हैं. ठीक है? Now, note it down and we'll move to some of the contemporary things. We'll start with this Rohingya crisis only. And this is also relevant only because it was in news. And Indian government wants to deport them. The problem, Communist Party has a habit of declaring everything was part of China. You must, you'll see in science and technology, you'll read that the ballistic missiles S-400, China was supposed to, Russia was supposed to provide it to China and India. But somehow the Chinese premier in his speech claimed that some of the city was part of China. And because of that statement, Russia didn't give it to them. Military coup takes place in March. So it is like it is always they are in power. This is not nothing. even no decisions can be taken by anybody there without military junta. It is just like they are allowing some of the people like Suki to run the show, and they have most of the control. Okay, though if we look at the share of power, people say that they have only 25% say. But if somebody is having the defense, somebody is having the external relations, then of course they are dictating most part of the relationship with the world. Okay, so we'll look at the contemporary issues between India and Myanmar. We can expect a short question on this relationship. Of late, we have started focusing more on these countries. So, first is Rohingya crisis. Rohingya crisis. So, who are these people? Rohingya are basically, they belong to Rakhine province in Myanmar. Okay, the Rohingyas. Where they belong? The Rakhine province. The problem is there was a Citizenship Act in 1982. The Citizenship Act 1982 of Myanmar doesn't recognize them as citizens. Doesn't recognize them as citizens. They are called as boat people. ये ऊपर contemporary issues between India and Myanmar ही है. Gopal, you can write that. The heading contemporary issues between India and Myanmar. The heading was there only. Okay. So note it down. This Rohingya crisis, Rakhine province in Myanmar, the Citizenship Act does not consider them as, they are basically called as boat people. I'll explain what boat people is. So, okay, so we talked about 1982 Act doesn't recognize them as. So if we look at the position, This region is nearby the sea. Okay? And if it's nearby sea, most of the part of this country, they say that these people are boat people. Those who have migrated to Myanmar from India, Bangladesh, okay. So they believe that these Rakhine people are not of original, they do not belong to here. They belong to both people means India, Bangladesh, Laos, Thailand. They are called as boat people because Myanmar, the popular culture of Myanmar believes that they came with boats and settled there. And they are causing all the problems there. They are outsiders and is still utilizing their resources. ठीक है? इसको बना लीजिए. And not limited to these countries only. They believe that they can be from other origins as well, other countries. आप चाहें तो यहाँ जैसे इंडिया बांग्लादेश दिखाया, यहाँ आप लाओस और थाईलैंड भी ऐसे दिखा सकते हैं. You can show that. But always try to make rough sketches that resemble somewhat. It shouldn't be like exact, but it should somewhat look like the country you are making. Rough sketches only. ज़्यादा focus नहीं करेंगे. Yeah, security threat in a sense that they have allowed China to build a port. But like in some of the discussions, I had suggested that China is not more concerned about encircling India. It is looking forward to some of the areas where they can check the American presence. Okay. So we do not have any evidence at this point in time to be fearful of this, though there was an era 5-10 years back when we were afraid of this string of pearls. We'll be discussing all of that when we discuss India and China. We'll be coming to that. So because of this thing, and they have a different religion as well, they practice Islam. And this thing, the movement that has been started against these people was not by the civilian. This was not a civil war. Instead, what happened there? The armed forces of the Myanmar started attacking these people when some of these people attacked armed forces first. ठीक है? The violence that has unleashed had forced many of the Rohingyas to leave their Myanmar. यहीं पे आप ऐसे लिख लीजिए. Armed forces attacked them in 2017. In 2017. अब आर्म फोर्सेस अटैक करेंगे तो क्या होगा? When the armed forces attacked them in 2017, So they fled in 2017 when their outpost was attacked by Rohingyas. ठीक है? So they fled, became refugees, and came to India, Jammu and Kashmir, Assam, Bengal, and where not. They are everywhere in India, Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu. जितने नाम आप सोच सकते हैं, they are everywhere. ठीक है? Southern states. The problem is not that these refugees have visited India. The problem is that they are almost 40,000 in number. Indian government has suggested 37,000 to the court, but almost 40,000 in number. And the IB report says that they have intentions to attack India under the influence of ISI. So this is dangerous. So what they did, just write the way I have written so that it becomes easier for you to revise as well. We'll talk about IB report, Intelligence Bureau report. What they are doing? Attacked Bodh Gaya in Bihar because they wanted to avenge from the Buddhist people. बुद्धिस्ट लोग हैं म्यांमार में, तो इंडिया में ही क्या किया इन्होंने, महाबोधि टेम्पल को अटैक कर दिया. महाबोधि टेम्पल. ठीक है, दे डिड दिस. उसके बाद क्या है, दे हैव क्रिएटेड अराकन साल्वेशन आर्मी. Under ISI influence to attack India. So they are threat to India. Write these. ठीक है, तो IB रिपोर्ट बता रही है क्या है, दे आर threat to India and thus India wants to send them back. Okay? What India wants? India wants to send them back. But of course, Myanmar doesn't want them. किसको चाहिए? जो भाग गए थे अपने खुद ही मार के भगाया. तो रिलेशंस क्या है, इसकी वजह से भी प्रॉब्लमेटिक है. ठीक है? So, for today, we'll stop this lecture here only. We have covered one important contemporary aspect. Tomorrow we'll deal with rest of the important aspects related to this relationship. कोई कंफ्यूजन है किसी को यहां तक? एवरीबॉडी इज क्लियर? अगर क्वेश्चन में आता है तो इसको एक्सप्लेन कर सकते हैं इजीली. क्या क्या इश्यूज हैं? The Indian government has certain considerations. So definitely it chooses to speak whenever it is most required. Until and unless it is in line with our broader policies, definitely the government is not going to speak. So किसी को कोई दिक्कत है? All good, everything understood? Think that if there is a question on this topic, you can write an answer with certain aspects that are important, with certain structuring and presentation. The government is almost, if you know about internal security, of course, the agencies like the intelligence bureau, the local police, they definitely are working to make sure that certain events do not happen. But many of the events we have seen in Jammu and Kashmir, some of the Rohingyas were the one who were having the ISIS flags. So definitely India is doing it. Okay, then great. Tomorrow we'll complete rest part of it and we'll move to some other country, some other neighbor, and we'll make sure that we cover all the aspects that are important from the perspective of exam, and do revise the things like I have suggested. If you want to clear this paper in a single go, then that is the thing that I had suggested. सुमन, हाँ वो लोग रहते हैं, लेकिन सारे लोग नहीं रहते हैं अभी. बहुत लोग फ्लड कर गए हैं, बट मैनी ऑफ द पीपल, हर कोई घर छोड़ के नहीं भागता है ना, हर कोई घर छोड़ के नहीं भागेगा. तो कुछ लोग हैं वहां पे बट डर के रहते हैं. लाइक द एक्सोडस ऑफ कश्मीरी पंडित्स फ्रॉम जम्मू एंड कश्मीर, सारे लोग तो नहीं भागे, बहुत लोग रहे भी. बहुत ज्यादा पॉपुलेशन हटी, लेकिन क्या है कि देयर आर ऑलवेज सम पीपल हु आर गुड इवन इफ समबडी इज बैड. तो कुछ लोग क्या है कि वहां प्रोटेक्ट भी कर रहे हैं, सभी लोग मार नहीं रहे हैं. ठीक है. Yeah, they are like this only because they are no man's land. The refugee are not accepted, are not welcome when they are terrorizing other people. Like Syria also, people went to Western countries and they started telling them to follow Shariat and all, and they started killing people. So when somebody is accepting you as a refugee, it is important that you respect their culture too. It is both way. So some of the things, when they are doing wrong things in India, definitely, even though we know that they are refugees and they are having no home, will not accept them. Because the members from the Rohingya community is bombarding some of the places which are important for our peace and prosperity, which has some religious value, which has some international value. Right? हाँ, कल वाला आज पढ़िए, फिर 7th डे, फिर 20th, फिर 30th. ये एक साइकिल है, 5 बार एक महीने में जब आप पढ़ लेंगे तो थिंग्स विल बिकम रियली इजी फॉर यू. सो हैव सम रेस्ट मे बी, and thereafter have your meal and make sure that you are revising the things, and just do the thing for 1 week, whatever I have said, the revision cycle, and you'll see the difference. उसके बाद आप खुद करने लगेंगे. All of you whoever want to clear the paper will yourself start following that thing, क्योंकि आपको डिफरेंस पता चल जाएगा दोनों वेज में, जैसे आप अभी तक पढ़ते आए हैं और जब आप अभी ये करने वाले हैं. So I'm just done with this class, and I hope you'll go through these notes and you'll make sure that you ask some of the questions, some of the confusion areas, और थोड़ा सोचेंगे इस चीज के बारे में. आप थोड़ा सोचेंगे भी तो आपका काम हो जाएगा. ठीक है. So have a great time, have your lunch, take good care of your health, and like I had said before, get yourself vaccinated as soon as possible. All of you, request the families, request the friends, relatives to get vaccinated. Stay healthy and stay blessed. Study well. Yeah, bye everyone.